Thank you, Chair. Ladies, gentlemen, friends, comrades, colleagues, Mike Payne, GMB, only wearing a purple tie because he likes purple and no other reason. I'm actually proud to stand here today to move this resolution on behalf of the GMB, but at the same time, I'm absolutely ashamed and angry that in the 21st century, I have to do so. The attacks on working people in Britain at the moment are absolutely appalling, and more is yet to come. The GMB resolution can be divided, I think, into three parts. The first is the shameful attack by the condemned government on employment rights. And I'm not going to go into every single attack that is currently planned, but the attack at the moment that was contained in Adrian Beecroft's report and being pushed forward not by a Tory, but by a Lib Dem MP, Vince Cable, who in the past has said, I quote, that his party is one that protects workers' rights. Well, let's put that myth to bed right now. From the 1st of April, workers will now have to wait 2 years instead of a year before they can challenge discrimination in the workplace in a tribunal. And even if they manage to keep their head down for those 2 years, they now have to put up a bond of £250 just to register that tribunal. And then when the tribunal hearing date comes along, they're then expected to hand over another £950 just to get that tribunal to hear their case. Cable says that this is about flexibility, that the employer needs to have the ability to deal with the hiring and firing of workers. I say to you, conference today, that is not flexibility, that's exploitation and a blatant attempt to remove workers' rights and to take away their access to justice. The second point, Chair, is the fact that in 2009, the Information Commissioner, armed with an injunction, raided the offices of an organisation called the Consultation Association, and during that raid, they found 3,500 cases and files that were about trade union representatives and health and safety reps who had been placed onto a blacklist without their knowledge, and as a direct consequence, those men and women were, in some cases, unable to find work for the following decade. Many lost their homes, many lost their families, and sadly, in some cases, some lost their lives. We believe that that's a national scandal, and that needs to be put right. But at the moment, we don't know whether 3,500 is the final number. We have now found evidence that only 5% of the available cases that were there in those offices have actually been recovered. 5%. They actually said when questioned that we didn't think our warrant allowed us to go any further and to take more cases. Those cases also didn't include the environmentalists who recently have found that the reason they couldn't get into the USA for trips and holidays was because they too had been placed onto a blacklist. And we suspect, and this is why we'll be asking for an inquiry, this is why we suspect that the UK Secret Services have got a hand in here. And we're calling for a Levisham-style inquiry to look at these abuses and to establish the size of the national scandal. And I know that that's not within the competence of the Welsh Government, but they certainly can support the call for this Levisham-style inquiry. If it's good enough for a celebrity to be told that their telephones have been hacked and that breaches their civil rights, then surely it's good enough for trade unionists who have only attempted to protect their workers and their members in work. They also should have access to that justice. Finally, Chair, the GMB is calling upon the Welsh Government to ensure that ethical procurement policies are implemented in Wales. And I know that a lot of work has already been done on this point. But we want it to go further. We want a procurement policy that will stop those companies, like the 44 who placed those men and women on blacklists. We want them stopped from attaining any part of the £6 billion public procurement contracts that are let every year from having access to those contracts until three things are done. Firstly, we want that Leveson-style inquiry. We want to know what the size of the national scandal is. Secondly, we want a public apology to those members who have lost their jobs, lost their families, lost their lives, and we want that made public as soon as possible. And thirdly, we want the establishment of a fund which can be used to compensate those people who have lost their livelihoods for over a decade as a result of the placing on that blacklist. I know that the Welsh Government are supportive. I know that the Minister is doing all she can. I also can tell you that my friend and comrade Vaughan Gethin and I will be meeting with the Minister fairly soon to discuss this matter and to move things forward. Local government can also do its bit. The GMB has written to every council in Wales asking them to adopt draft resolutions to look at their procurement policies to introduce the ethical element. We call upon all local government in Wales to do that. We ask for the support of Welsh Government, and I ask this conference to support the GMB resolution. Thank you, comrades. Diolch yn fawr iawn.